Yeah, it's false. Very good. Okay, so the answer would be, no for this one, but yes for the previous one.
Okay.
Is that okay?
Yeah.
So I take it back. We actually might have time to go through everything. I just didn't know how in depth this was. Your homeworks are pretty lengthy.
Mm-hmm.
All right, find the intercepts for the graph of the equation. So to do this, there's two intercepts. The first is the y-intercept, and that's when x equals 0. So you put 0 in for x. So we're going to bring this equation down here. We're going to put 0 in for x. 2 times 0 plus y equals 6. And notice that that goes away. 2 times 0 is gone. It's 0. So y equals 6. So that's like part one, okay? And you're putting 0 in for x back into the equation, and then you write an ordered pair when you're all done, 0, comma 6. Is that okay?
Yeah.
Then we find the x-intercept by putting 0 in for y. Put 0 in for y. So this time it's 2x plus 0 equals 6, because you're putting it in for y. 2x equals 6, divide by 2, divide by 2. So x equals 3.
Okay.
Thoughts on that?
I got it.
So you do have to be able to do this on your own, obviously. So like, it might be good to redo some of these problems, in between handing out candy tonight. Um,
Okay.
it's a joke. You can obviously do this whenever you want. Um, so same thing for this one though. The same exact steps, okay? The y-intercept is when x equals 0. And actually, I apologize. There's a last little step here that I didn't do. It's an ordered pair. It's 3 comma 0. The x value is 3. The y value is 0. That's where they come from.
Okay.
So that your instructor is looking for both of these. Um, now, so same thing here. Okay, you're putting 0 in for x. Okay, so it's minus 2 times 0 minus 2y equals 8. What is minus 2 times 0?
0.
What does this become?
Would it be no? Would it be -0?
Well, 0 is neither negative nor positive.
So it would
It's
just
just 0.
be.
It's just
Oh,
0. So that's 0 minus 2y equals 8. The 0 goes away. So this becomes just minus 2y equals 8. How do you solve this equation?
um, you would divide it by +2.
You divide it by whatever number is in front of y,
Okay.
which is -2.
Okay.
So what is the value of y?
-4.
-4. So when x is 0, y is -4. So the ordered pair is 0, comma, -4. You typically have to write it as an ordered pair here. Okay. For the x-intercept, the other one, what is the y value?
Negative. Wait. -2.
Well, yeah, let's go back and look at the previous problem. So for the y-intercept, you put 0 in for x. For the x-intercept, you put 0 in for y. So whichever one it's you're putting 0 in for one and then the other. So I not trying to make this confusing here. You're putting 0 in for y. For the y-intercept, x is 0. For the x-intercept, y is 0. They're flipped. So you're going to put 0 in for y here. So 2 times 0 equals 8. So will you try to solve this for x, please? I'm just going to step away for a moment, but I'll be right back with you.
Okay.
All right, what did you come up with here for x?
-4.
It is -4, yeah. So the ordered pair is -4, 0. Any questions on that?
No,
All right, do you want us to go to equation or line or page 3 or page 2? What would be best for you?
page 3.
Page 3, all right. All right, so here we go. It says graph the equation by using the slope and the y-intercept. I'm just going to rewrite the equation over here. Do you remember how to find the slope and the y-intercept, which is the b value, from the equation?
Um, M is 3.
M is 3 or maybe 3/1 because it's the rise over the run. And the b value?
-6.
-6. Good. So you start with the b value in your graph. So you go put a dot at -6. Then you use the slope. The slope tells you how much up and over you're going. Okay. So you're going up 3 from there, 1, 2, 3, and then over 1, up 3 and over 1. Remember, you don't count that initial one.
Okay. So it would form a line.
Yeah. And I don't know how many points you would graph, but it's, I mean, you got to graph some, but and then you got, ruler. It might be worth having a ruler or some sort of a straight edge on
Okay.
there. All right. Any questions on that?
No.
All right. So for number 8, we have to do a little bit of work before we can graph it. We have to solve for y. We have to solve for y because it's not solved for y. And the previous problem was so to solve for y, you're going to first subtract 2x from both sides of the equation. So that's -3y equals, and it's always better to put this in front, -2x plus 6.
Okay.
Do you remember what to do from here to solve for y?
So you divide all the numbers by -3.
Yes. So this becomes 2/3 times x minus 2. What is the slope and what is the b value of this one?
So the slope would be 2/3.
Okay, and the b value?
Um, is it just one number or two numbers for the b value?
It's always the other number. What's the other number in the equation?
-2.
-2, yeah. Which do you start with when you graph, the slope or the b value?
The slope?
Let's go take a look. Is that what we did in the previous problem? Did we start at 3?
No.
Looks like we started at the b value.
Okay.
So you gotta, you're gonna maybe make a note of that or somehow remember that. You start at the b value. So you start at -2. And then how much up and how much over do you go?
Up to right 3.
Say that again.
Up to right 3.
You got it. And you don't count the first one. So when you start, you don't count that one. That's 0. And then 1, 2, and then right again. You don't count that first one. 1, 2, 3. And a couple of points until you can graph it, something like that. Any questions on that?
No.
All right, so we can go to page 3. No, we just did, sorry, question 9. Whoops. All right. Okay, here we go. It says to write an equation line passing the given pair of points, and it wants it in standard form. So standard form is the AX plus BY equals C form.
Okay.
Okay, but you cannot go directly to that. So to get to standard form, you either start in Y equals MX plus B form, or Y minus Y1 equals MX minus X1. We'll probably just use this one because that's the more common one. Is that okay?
Yeah.
So we first need to find the slope. Do you get an equation sheet on your exam?
Yeah,
Now, do you make it or does your teacher make it?
my teacher does.
Okay, this will probably be on there.
Okay.
Okay, so it's good to label the points though, X1, Y1, X2, Y2.
So it would be 6 minus 4,
Okay, over.
and then 4 minus 2.
All right. So that's 2 over 2, which reduces to 1. All right, so you write Y equals MX plus B, and this value goes in for M. Y equals 1X plus B. Is that okay?
Yes.
Okay. Now, to find B, you have to use one of these ordered pairs. It doesn't matter which one, but let's choose that first one. Let's choose 2 comma 4. That's X and that's Y. So you put 4 in for Y and 2 in for X. And then you're going to solve for B. Is that okay?
Yeah.
All right, so to solve for B, you multiply 1 times 2, and you have to move it to the other side of the equation. So it's 4 equals 2 plus B. How do you move it to the other side of the equation?
Um, 2.
Yeah, how do you move the 2 to the other side of the equation?
Um,
Is it positive or negative?
Positive.
So you undo a positive with subtraction, subtracting 2 from both sides of the equation.
So he would
So what
be 2.
B would be 2. All right, so that goes back in here. Goes back in here. So this is Y equals 1X plus 2, like that.
Okay.
Is that okay?
Yeah.
All right, now that's not standard form though. So we have to now do a bit more to get this into standard form. So standard form again is AX plus BY equals C.
Okay.
Okay, so if we get X and Y on the same side, we're in good shape. Okay, so do you want to move the X to the left? Does that make sense to you to move it left?
No, it doesn't.
Okay, so would you prefer to move the Y right?
Mhm. So you would
Then
subtract
we've, go ahead.
you would subtract y from 2?
Well, you're from that side. It doesn't go with the 2. So and if we move, if we rewrite this now, 1X minus y plus 2, you know, you can even sneak it in there. We're getting closer, right?
Okay.
Now the equal sign can move. Like you can rewrite this as 1x minus y plus 2 equals 0. But then you do have to move the 2 to the right, because that constant is the number.
Okay.
So that's, if you subtract 2 from both sides, it's 1x minus 1y equals -2. And that is your final answer.
Okay. I got it.
All right. Do you want us to do another one like this or move on to something else?
Um, Move on to something else.
Okay. Page 4?
I think
Or
so.
or do you have specific problems you want us to do? Is 10 good to go through?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Find an equation in slope-intercept form of the line satisfying the specified conditions. Okay, so it goes through this point, that point right there, but it's parallel to this. So we need to extract the slope. So the only way to do that is to solve for y. So how did we solve for y in an earlier problem with the standard form? What did we do first?
Um, we undid. Um, so what do
Let's
you
go
say?
back and look. I mean, we did, just to be clear, there was this problem here, number 8. What did we do first?
So we would. It was. Let me see. So we would add 3 to -3.
So yeah, in your problem, you would add 3x to both sides. All right, so this becomes 5y equals 3x minus 19. Then what do you do? How do you solve for y?
You would move the 3x to the other side.
No, we already moved the 3x. We wouldn't move it back. What did we do in that problem? Let's go back and look at number 8 again. Okay, we ended up having minus 3y equals minus 2x plus 6. Then what did we do? What am I showing here in this line? I think you even told me this.
Divide everything by 5.
Yeah, in your problem, it's 5. Yes, very good. Okay, so you're gonna divide everything by 5, by 5, by 5, by 5. So y equals 3/5 x minus 19 over 5, like that. Now we just want the slope. So what is the slope of this equation?
3/5.
Yes, so the slope is 3 over 5. And then we don't want, we're done. We don't have anything else to do with this equation. Totally done. We do care about this point, though. 8 comma 0.
Oh,
So which form? Go ahead.
that would be my starting point.
Well, we're not graphing it, we're finding the equation. What's the form that it wants it in?
Intercept form.
Slope intercept form. So that's y equals mx plus b. You have a slope. How do we find b? What did we do in an earlier problem to find b?
Um, we prove the equation.
We use this point. This point is an x and a y. So y is 0 and x is 8. Is that okay? You see that where x is 8 and y is 0?
Yes. So that would
Okay.
be the
Well, no, we have to
final
solve for b. We have to solve for b. We're not done.
answer.
So to multiply this fraction, 8's really 8 over 1. What does this fraction become?
Would we multiply it?
Yes.
Okay.
Multiply the tops, multiply the bottoms.
So it would be 24/5.
Okay, 24 over 5 plus b. How do we solve for b? How do we undo this number here? It's the same as the previous problem. Like there's no magic. There's just doing whatever we did in the previous problem to solve for b.
Um,
So what did we do here to solve for b? How did we undo this number?
we subtracted it by
Yeah,
2.
so right, so it's the same idea here. You're going to subtract 24 over 5 from both sides of the equation. So b equals minus 24 over 5. And that's what goes into this line right there for b. So it's y equals 3/5 x minus 24 over 5. And that's your final answer. Okay, we're gonna do 12 and then we're gonna come back to 11. If 12 is more like the one we just did. Okay. So for number 12, we're writing an equation in standard form, but you don't start there. You always end there. So we're going to start by writing, we really want to write y equals mx plus b, and then we'll go to standard form, just like we've been doing in a few of the other problems. Does that make sense? Like
Yeah.
all right. So do you know the slope?
Slope is -8. No.
All right. So we can write y equals -8x plus b. What do you need to find a b value? What would be ideal?
Move it to the other side.
Nope. What did we do in the previous problem? How did we find b in the previous problem? What did we use?
X and Y.
We were given a point. Yeah. Are you given a point here?
So it'll be -2 and 0.
Yes. So x is -2, y is 0. 0 equals -8 times -2 plus b. What are we going to do to solve this for b?
Will we multiply -8
Okay.
and -2?
Yep, I agree. Go ahead and do that.
So it would be 16
Okay.
plus
And
B.
then what's left to do to solve for b?
Um, and then the division.
Is that what we did in the previous problem? How do we move this 16 to the other side of the equation? What did we do in this line right here?
It would be 16/1.
Well, you don't have to write it as a fraction. It's okay as a whole number. But how do you move it left? How do you move it to the other side? It's just like the previous problem we've been doing.
It would be on both sides.
What on both sides? What is, like, give me the math operation. Add, subtract, multiply, divide. What do you do here?
Subtract
Okay, what do you subtract from both sides?
-16.
So you got to be careful. You're subtracting 16. The way you said it could be interpreted differently. That goes back in for B. Okay. So y equals minus 8x minus 16. Now, is that the form that it wants it in?
No,
No. So to make this into standard form, you have to get x and y on the same side. Okay, so if we do it the way that you had suggested in the previous problem, subtracting y from both sides, okay, that's fine. 0 equals minus 8x minus y minus 16. But then the 0, this equals 0 is kind of the wrong place. So you just move it over here. And then you've got to undo this minus 16. You've got to move it to the right. So how do you do that? What's the math operation to move it right this time?
you would add 16 to both
You would
sides.
you would add 16 to both sides. Very good. All right, so here's your final line here, or so it appears. There's one problem with this. The problem is that the leading term has to be positive. So to change the signs, you multiply everything by -1, which effectively changes the signs on everything. So it becomes 8x plus 1y equals -16. All three of them get the negative. And that is your final answer. If you have questions, I mean, now is probably the best time to get them, addressed.
No, I don't have any right now.
All right. So let's keep going here. Number 11, we'll go back to. All right, so to decide whether two lines are parallel, perpendicular, or neither, you need the slope of both lines. So in both lines, you have to solve for y. I want you to pick one of these equations and solve it for y. Which one do you want to pick?
9x plus 3y equals 12.
Okay. Can you solve that for y for us, please?
So it would be y equals 4 minus 3x.
Well, it's always, and I've mentioned this a few times, it's always better to put that x term in front. I know that when you just subtract 9x and subtract 9x, you could put it off to the right, but it's better if you can put it in front, because then you have the right m value. All right, so what is your slope of this equation?
Um,
What is the number in front of x?
or
Well, 4 is in front of it, but it's not directly in front of it. What's the number in front of x? And that's the problem with not putting the x in front, like I suggested. You end up getting potentially it backwards. So what is the number in front of x now?
would it be 1?
Are you seeing my screen?
Oh, sorry, negative
That just,
3.
yeah, I'm not, yeah, -3. Okay. And on the right here, what's the slope of this other one?
11/2.
The slope is the number in front of x.
-3.
Yes. Okay. If these are the same, they're parallel. That's something to maybe write down or, look at a couple of times, make sure you get it. We've not done much with perpendicular lines, so I guess I'll just not even mention anything about it, but it's something to think about, I guess.
Okay.
All right. Ready to move on to 13?
Yes.
Okay. All right. So the best way for you to be successful in this type of problem is to solve for y, just like in the previous problem. So do you want to solve for y in the first equation or the second equation?
The second one.
Okay, so give the second one a try. I'll do the first one.
I got y equals 1 plus 9x/2.
Okay, so I'll just try to tell you the same things I keep telling you because this is not the best way to write it because you really want to put the x term first. So like when you're solving this for y and you subtract 9x from both sides, you really want to put that in front of the other number. I hope you can kind of remember me saying that or hear me saying that because it's really important because I would be concerned that you wouldn't know the slope of this and potentially graph it wrong. Now, the rest of it's great. All right, it is 9/2x plus 1, or like you had 1 plus 9/2x. What is the slope?
The slope is 1.
It is
No,
not 1. Yeah,
9/2.
9/2. And the b value is 1. Do you remember whether you start with the slope or the b value?
The b value.
Yes. So you just be really careful how you write it. Um, so let's start at the 1 here and then up 9, right 2, up 10. And then we kind of have to we really need to go the other direction. So to get the other point, it's kind of like undoing this. And it's left 2 and then down 8. And you really want to get a nice straight line in there. You can. All right. Now the first one, to solve the first one for y, you end up getting y equals -1/3 x plus 1. All right. So it actually has the same b value. Right there. So that is the intersection point. The slope this time is down 1 and right 3. Something
Okay.
like that. But you have to give the intersection point. The intersection point there is 0, 1. Is that okay?
Yes.
All right. Okay, so let's go to number 14. This to solve by the substitution method. So to use the substitution method, you have to first solve one of the equations for x or y. It doesn't matter which one, but you're looking for an equation where there's like a 1x or a 1y. Which equation do you see that in?
1y.
Or 1x?
The first equation.
Yeah, so you can solve that one for x by moving the -5y to the other side by adding 5y to both sides of the equation. Now this time it doesn't matter what order you put it in, whether it's first or second. That really only applies to graphing. Okay, so now let's bring down that other equation. So this right here is going to go in wherever you see an x. But it's in parentheses. So you have -4 times -28 plus 5y minus 6y equals -44. You see how I substituted that in for x in parentheses, and it's the whole thing is in parentheses.
Yeah.
Reason that matters is because this -4 multiplies both of these.
Okay.
So are you allowed to use a calculator on this?
Yes.
All right. So the reason I ask, because sometimes these numbers can get a little bit large. This is 112 minus 20y minus 6y equals -44. So if you're ever unsure, grab a calculator.
Okay.
All right, so then here you can combine like terms. 112 minus 26y equals -44. And then to solve for y here, you're going to subtract 112 from both sides. So you have -26y equals -156. And then you divide both sides by -26. -26. So y ends up equaling 6. Is that okay?
Yeah.
All right. So we're not done though. We have to find both x and y. So to do that, you go back to your equation for x. X is really -28 plus 5y. So this value of y goes in there. So it's negative 28 plus 5 times 6. So if you do have a calculator handy, why don't you try that one? Tell me what you come up with.
I got +2.
Just 2. And then sometimes they want you to write it as 2, 6 as your final answer.
Okay.
All right. Okay, so we're running short on time here. I feel like I should at least set up 17 for you. And then maybe solve another one. We'll probably run out of time now. So as Anne and Nancy use a metal alloy that has 16% copper to make jewelry, how many ounces from an alloy that is 10% copper must be mixed with an alloy that is 20% copper to form 55 ounces of the desired alloy? So typically there's a total equation, and the total equation is that x plus y equals 55. And an x is, copper. Well, it's the 10% copper, and then the 20% copper is the y. But the total is 55 ounces. Okay. And they're going to use 10% x plus 20% y. So the next one is the percent times amount equation. So it's a percentage times an amount, percentage times amount equals. They want a 16% blend times the total, which is 55. Okay, so if you have a calculator, you definitely want to try to calculate some of these numbers. So it ends up being 0.1x plus 0.2y equals 8.8. And then I would tell you to multiply everything by 10, which will give you 1x plus 2y equals 88. And then you can use this other equation up here to solve the system, either by substitution or elimination. Either would work.
Okay.
So, all right, we did not get through everything, but hopefully that is sufficient to help you with your test for tomorrow. What time is the test? Is it an early morning one?